and I running back in Texas. Biggest mistake we ever made.
The Martin Houston Show with national championship winning fullback Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Good morning. Welcome into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier on Tide 100.9. We're powered by MaX Sports. It's a beautiful Monday morning. We're live, local, and ready to get things rolling right here in your home for Alabama Sports, Tide 100.9, 12:30 a.m. WTBC. Want to invite you to get in on the conversation at 205-342-9904. That's the Alabama One hotline. You can always add your thoughts and your comments in on the chat live stream. Follow Martin J. Houston 35. We're able to get you into the conversation there. I want to remind you that we are consolidating the channels into Martin J. Houston 35 on Facebook and YouTube. And so you need to make sure you're following those for the live stream. We'll use all the other channels for rebroadcast, special broadcasts, etc., much like we did this past weekend with the DeBoer press conference. And just want to remind you, go ahead and do that in advance of the 29th so you know that you'll be able to be tuned in. Phone lines are always open. Once again, the Alabama One hotline, 205-342-9904. I want to remind you, like we do each and every day, that this is a day that the Lord has made, so let's rejoice and be glad in it. Take some time today to notice someone, love someone, serve someone, be the difference you want to see in the world today. Xavier and I'll kick things off in this first quarter. We'll add Kennington Smith III to the conversation in the second quarter, and he'll be with us throughout the remainder of today. Lots to get to before we get too deep into it and they get lost in the shuffle. Kudos to Coach Nate Oates and his big win over Mississippi State as they went on the road and beat a tough, physical Mississippi State team. So kudos to him and the Tide. One of only two undefeated teams left in the SEC, that being the Auburn Tigers and the Alabama Crimson Tide. So kudos to them. The rest of the show, of course, is going to be looking at Coach DeBoer, welcoming him and maybe looking at some of his things he had to say from his press conference. We'll talk about him building his staff, the portal, and that'll probably take pretty much care of the rest of the conversation. Good morning, X. How you doing, sir?
Good morning. Doing well. How are you?
Doing well. Before I get into any other conversation, I have to say welcome into the program, and I want to, want to make sure that I do not dismiss what today is. Celebration of Dr. King's life with Dr. MLK Day. And so I thank him for what he did, which allows me in many ways to do what I do from being born in 1970, shortly after a lot of those things began to take place that he marched and fought and led people for. And, 53 years later, I do not take it lightly that I sit behind a radio mic in the great United States of America as an African-American man who without a doubt owe a great debt of gratitude to him for his life and his service. And also, I pastor a predominantly white church. I have a great job. I have a lot of things Is there always room for improvement? Absolutely. But I do not look back and say that there haven't been great progress. And I'm glad that I have been privileged with the opportunity to take full advantage of it. And I try to do my best to honor his life with the way I carry mine. So thank you, Dr. King. Happy Dr. King Day to you and yours and all that's out there. X, great weekend. Kalen DeBoer in Tuscaloosa. I guess, what's your initial thoughts?
Initially, I love the move. I love the hire. It's a different hire from Coach Saban, but I think it's the right hire at the end of the day. So it's going to be an interesting journey, and I think Coach Saban staying around is going to be a big impact and a big move that helps this transition be smoother than transitions that we have seen in the past.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think there's a reason that it's going to be smoother, and I'm going to play some of that audio in a moment. I'm going to wait till we get Kennington on, in terms of what's happening in terms of the hire. I'm excited about it. I didn't want to go out and say that he was coming for sure. But if you following me on Facebook, you probably saw that I predicted that this would be Greg Burns' dark horse hire when everybody was throwing out all of these other names. DeBoer was not a name that people were talking about, but I felt like he would be the type of guy that Greg Burns would go after. And that proved to be the case, as Greg Burns himself said when he talked to him Wednesday night. While everybody out here was reporting landings in Tuscaloosa, landings in Tuscaloosa, landings in Tuscaloosa. Burns himself said he was in Seattle. How they didn't see that, how people, all those who were watching it didn't see that, I don't know. But either way, X, it was I think it was a home run hire. You can look at his records and stats and all of that. It's been an interesting weekend. As of course, we'll talk to what's the name more about this, but it's been interesting in the sense, X, that a lot of people have been dogging the players that have gone into the portal and all of that, and saying they're not loyal, and and now all of a sudden they weren't good. It's interesting how we pick and choose who we decide to vilify and who we don't. Everybody, when what's the name went in the portal and Coach Saban was here, everybody was happy that Seth McLaughlin and gave him many props for what he did here and thanked him. But yet when Bond went and came out and said it was a business decision, he's gotten dogged a little bit. What are your thoughts on that?
The difference, I think, is what actually happened on the field. I think a lot of people, it was easy to go, oh, hey, Seth, thanks for everything. But in reality, this last year was hard to watch of Bond. But then you turn around and you look at Bond and you say, hey, well, first of all, Seth.
You mean it was hard to watch? You mean it was hard to watch with Seth, not Bond?
Yeah, with Seth. I also think people look at it like this. Seth should be out of eligibility. The only reason Seth still had a year was because of the COVID year. Bond was a guy that was supposed to be on the 2020-14 team and things of that. That I also saw a lot of people thank Seth in the way that, hey, thank you for leaving. Thank God you're leaving. You're not going to be here to screw up the snaps anymore. So there's that as well.
Yeah, and I think the difference is Isaiah Bond was staying until Coach Saban left, and I think you have to recognize that. Now, I I I won't get to it today. I actually put up a video yesterday on my Facebook page that talked about people don't understand, and these young men don't understand the value of the Alabama Script A and NIL. Alabama sits in a very unique place where I don't think any other college program sits. It's the most accomplished college football program out there in the world, anywhere. It is the you can make the argument that Alabama football is the number one football brand in its market, meaning in D1 football, which is the highest level of college football, there is no brand better than Alabama. And very few sports brands, period, even when you go to the pros, is better than Alabama. And so when you look at Alabama Script A and NIL, these players aren't grasping what it means. These players, someone needs to get in these players' ears and help them understand NIL is something that is, yes, it starts when you come to Alabama, but it has the potential to be with you for the rest of your life. For this reason, Alabama is clearly the best football program in its classification, and there is no higher classification than college football D1. Alabama's the king of the roost. You can call it whatever you want, be a hater, whatever. There are no NFL football teams. There are no professional baseball teams, professional basketball. There's nothing higher than Alabama football in the state of Alabama. Therefore, when you build a brand, an NIL, name, image, and likeness at the University of Alabama, you will have that. You will never have to give that up. But if you go to Texas, after what happens with Texas, guess what's going to happen? Next year, right now, do you think the state of Texas is talking about Texas football, or they're talking about the Texans, or they're talking about the Cowboys this morning, or whatever? There's always going to be company. And everywhere you go, there's that competition, and therefore you don't get to keep that brand as much and as long. Yeah, you get it right now, but Isaiah Bond is the perfect example. I'm gonna get the break here. Isaiah Bond could have commissioned his own Gravedigger painting and made money off of his Gravedigger painting forever. Daniel Moore sells millions of prints. Well, if I'm a fan, I'm gonna buy the print from the dude who's in the painting. I'm gonna buy his print for the rest of my life. Every autograph session, everywhere he shows up, he's walking away from millions of dollars potentially that could have been his for the rest of his life. That's my thoughts there. We'll keep it going. We'll add Kennington Smith III into the conversation. And like I said, we'll have this NIL conversation probably all off season. We'll be back in just a moment. We'll get to the T-Rob conversation. I predicted last night in a semi, ask it in a question, but is T-Rob coming back to Tuscaloosa? Would that be DeBoer's biggest get of the offseason? We'll talk about that and more right here on your home for Alabama Sports. Tide 100.9, 12:30 a.m. WTBC. This is the Martin Houston Show, powered by MaX Sports.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. We're seeing a nice flow of traffic all around the area. It is Martin Luther King Day, federal and state holiday, so there will probably not be quite as much morning drive traffic today. If you're traveling 2059 from Foster's out to Cottondale, you're in good shape there. And Lurling Wallace coming in across the river on down to Jack Warner Parkway, you're in good shape with no big problems along the way there either. Just a nice quiet start all around. With your Tuscaloosa traffic now, I'm Ray Romero.
Under the biggest cactus in town, Taco Casa. Quality is number one. You got to start with a good quality product, but it's got to be at a good value to the customers.
Everything is about quality.
You just can't beat the quality, taste, and value.
And it's because we take pride in providing you with the best.
Good customer service and good food, good quality.
We want to make sure that we give that to them each and every time they come and visit us. The sense of pride that we have in the quality, the consistency of our food carries over to everything we do in the stores. That's Taco Casa.
Did you know that 90% of the lawyers you see or hear advertised aren't even in Alabama? Just think about that. I used this guy, Stephen Mesrano, twice because he did what no other lawyers could do. He won for me, and he can win for you. Mez wins.
Thanks, guys. I'm attorney Stephen Mesrano, and I win. Call me, 205-800-8000, and let me fight for you. And when you call, you'll actually talk to me. 205-800-8000. I've got this.
No representations made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
You still thinking job change in the new year?
Yeah, I need something that's in high demand and more stable in this economy.
IT?
Yeah, cybersecurity, maybe even AI.
That's what I did.
Really? How?
Went to My Computer Career. You don't need any prior experience, and you could start your new career in a matter of months. A lot of IT pros go to school there, too, to level up.
Sweet. Are classes online or on campus?
Both.
Wow, I'll check it out. Thanks.
Make this your year. Take the free career evaluation now at mycomputercareer.edu. Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the GI Bill.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Cloudy and cold today. Periods of freezing rain this afternoon and tonight. That could lead to icy driving conditions. The high today 35. Much colder tonight. The low 19. Tomorrow we stay below freezing, becoming partly sunny. The high 27. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 33 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
The sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team. The Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show, powered by MaX Sports. We're live, local, and ready to get things rolling. Thanks for being a part of the show. Thanks for getting up and at 'em with us this morning. For all of those of you who are new to the broadcast on the Restream side, remember you can always add your thoughts, your comments in on the live stream chat. For those of you who listen in the traditional way, or that listen on the app, you can send your comments in from the app and or call us on the Alabama One hotline at 205-342-9904. I want to thank the great folks over at Billy's Cooking Restaurant, Billy's Cooking LLC. Go check them out for lunch and or dinner. They open up at 11 o'clock Wednesday through Sunday. Wing Wednesday, Fish Friday, Soul Food Sunday. That's Billy's Cooking Restaurant, Billy's Cooking LLC. All right, X, we're going to bring Kennington into the conversation. But before we do, I was telling everyone at the as we're going to break that you have Alabama NIL is different than everybody else. And Matt May said, hey, we've been the cream of the crop. We'll see about the future. Alabama's been the cream of the crop for 100 years and counting. So I get that we may not win championships the way we used to, but the Alabama fans have always loved the Alabama football players. In other words, let's take one of the most beloved players out there right now who played in a bad era, DeMeco Ryans. DeMeco Ryans, who played during a bad time at Shula, he still would have had a great NIL experience if NIL existed back then.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, and you're talking about the love that he's getting now because you look at because of the era that he was in, and if everything was the same then, and he stayed and he battled and he left as a member of the Crimson Tide, the love that he has now would just be amplified if he was able to leave when things didn't go smoothly.
Absolutely. Hey, let's bring in Kennington Smith III of The Athletic, beat writer for the University of Alabama. Good morning, Kennington. How you doing, sir?
How are y'all?
Doing well, man.
Doing good.
Hey, it's been crazy since the last time you were on. The whole football world turned upside down. We did have a national champion named poor Michigan. I told people yesterday at church. I said Michigan won the national championship and they got talked about for 1 day and a half, maybe. And the rest of the time it's been all about Saban. What's your thoughts with the Saban retirement and the subsequent 49-hour coaching search would typically be considered rushed, but what are your thoughts on Greg Burns and his ability to get this done?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of what Greg Burns has done historically in terms of his coaching searches. You know, with Nate Oates, that was a very short search, the transition from Adrian Johnson to him. Baseball this past spring, pretty quick transition. So you have to give Greg Burns a lot of credit for being able to just kind of recalibrate things and be able to identify good candidates and bring them into the fold quickly. I think the calendar and the circumstances kind of nudged him in that direction when you think about the transfer portal window being opened immediately and him kind of having to fortify some things. So even more talent doesn't leave the roster, but you have to give a tip of the crack to Greg Burns. He asked the players for 72 hours. He got it done in 49 hours. So with about a day to spare, and by all accounts, they got a strong candidate, at least on paper. I know there's obviously a lot of questions. I'm sure we're going to get into them, but Kalen DeBoer knows how to win football games, and that, above all, is the most important thing when we're talking about Alabama's football program. So everything else will kind of play itself out as the months go on. But just on the surface, you have to give Greg Burns some credit for being able to wrap this up pretty quickly.
Yeah, I put up that he was Greg Burns type of candidate before he was a hot guy on the list, and of course that ended up being the case. There's a lot of different topics we can get to. I since one of our callers brought this up, get your thoughts on Isaiah Bond, and we'll circle back on DeBoer because the Isaiah Bond story will be the one that dies down the fastest. So we'll go ahead and get that, and then we'll talk about the potential of T-Rob and the staff and all of that stuff. But Mike Miller said, I think more was involved in Bond going to Texas and Saban retiring. I smell a lucrative NIL deal. Of course, we know that's the case, but I try to point out to people, Bond had committed to stay at Alabama. The window and the portal was closed. So you have to give it 100% to that's what changed in his life. And then after that, NIL and everything else. What are your thoughts on the Bond move to Texas?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's a good point, that if it was solely about the money, he could have just did it when the window was open. So I think it is telling that, Saban retires and then, he quickly hops into the portal and immediately finds a new location. So I think it's a mixture of both. I think, this is something that we're going to see not only on Alabama's roster, but also kind of on the recruiting trail as well, is that, to your point, Alabama is the creme de la creme. They're obviously not, a second-rate program by any means, but for the most part, a lot of these kids commit to Alabama to play for Nick Saban. So once he's out of the equation, then there's going to be some things that, kind of recalibrate in a lot of these players' minds. And that's just something that Bama's going to have to adjust to. But, I happen to agree with you that Saban leaving had to be the tipping point in his decision.
Yeah, and I think the relationship with the NFL that Saban has, I think that plays into it. But here's a question, and I threw it up, controversial, and I know it. But I asked my followers, what's the difference between DeBoer having moved and escalated from where he was in 2019 as an OC to a head coach, now at his third program in 4 calendar years? Why is he moving?
Why is he moving up?
Yeah, why is he moving?
I think you just have to look at, I guess, the success on the field will probably be the biggest thing. He's won.
No. I'm talking about what's making him leave Fresno State and go to Washington, and then from Washington to Alabama.
Oh, the opportunity, the exposure, to elevate his profile, I guess, like to hit the highest level that he can. Same as anybody else who's moved up in their, professional field, whatever it is. Like, you want to reach the highest level that you can. So Washington's a clear upgrade to Fresno State, and Bama's a clear upgrade to Washington.
Yeah. And the reason I point that out is we're dogging the young man for doing the same thing. And people say it's different because he's a college athlete. it's actually worse for a coach, in my opinion, because a player has 4 years to get it done, and then it's over. And if he sees an opportunity, whether he calls it a business deal or not, all of this is business. And that's where us as fans, Kennington, are going to have to rearrange our mindset that college football is a business now. And unfortunately, a poorly ran business, because the people who are running it are academians and don't know what they're doing. But you know, Bun, he kind of shot shade at Alabama and at Jalen Milroe on his exit. He said he chose Texas, business deal. We know it was money involved, but he also said that he felt like the offense and scheme that's established in Texas versus what may happen here gave him a better chance to get to be a top first-round draft pick. Now, he was willing to roll with the Tide before, but now he's not. So, is it an upgrade? I don't think so, but he does. So I can't fault him.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, if you just look at, he, was kind of in that weird space of like he entered the portal and then they hired DeBoer right afterwards. But just if you just kind of look at how Texas offense was ran, I guess in comparison to what Alabama ran this past year, there's definitely a lot more opportunities for receivers under Sark and Quinn Ewers in the offense that they ran compared to Alabama's. And I think a lot of it with Bond was, okay, I'm going to trust Saban and getting me to that next level. But again, once he's out of the equation, that kind of changed a lot of things for him. I mean, obviously, Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb, what they did at Washington with their receivers should speak for itself. But again, I think Bond is just kind of going with, what he knows, and he's probably a lot more familiar with Sark and what they do at Texas. And like you said, the money part of it is a big factor as well. So those two things together made it an upgrade for him specifically.
Yeah, and Bama fans, Bama boosters, Bama alumni, we better start speaking up what the value of NIL at Alabama, and we better start supporting it and get on board, because these other schools are coming at this roster this year and every year moving forward. They're going to come after Bama's players, and if they could get them, and I tried to explain to people, they said, well, he didn't take DeBoer's call and all that. I said he was already gone when DeBoer was hired. We can say what we want. The moment Nick Saban retired, these other coaches did what they're not supposed to. They started contacting the players. When he put his name in the portal, he was gone. He was no longer a part of this football program. I thought he might be waiting, but I said, man, he has gotten some offers, and that's why he didn't take DeBoer's call. In my opinion, was he had, it was a bird in the hand versus promises. He knows what the offense is going to execute like under the current coaching staff at Texas and the current quarterback. He knows that there's potential at Alabama that they could get to what Washington did, but there's no guarantee of that. He knew what he was getting, and that's what I think made him go that way. Your thoughts real quick, and then we'll get the break and come back, get a couple callers on with Kennington.
I 100% agree. The second that he was gone, the second Saban retired, there had been conversations before Saban retired where he was thinking about transferring anyway, from everything that I've heard. And so when that happened, it was the icing on the cake. And he did, like you said, when you don't even give the guy they asked for 72 hours, you don't even give the guy a phone call back. It was a done deal before he was even named the head coach.
Absolutely. And MHS 047 lives in Texas, and he said when Isaiah Bond arrived in Austin, it was already a done deal. I think it was a done deal before DeBoer was even named the coach, but we're neither here nor there. Don't begrudge him. Good job there. The Lamborghini leased. Well, maybe Mercedes need to step up here in Tuscaloosa. Who knows? We'll see. We'll have Kennington Smith III on the phone with us. We'll add him to the conversation, add you to the conversation. There's a lot to get to, and we're going to try to get as much of it in today. But if we don't get it in today, we're here every day, Monday through Friday, from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. each and every day.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. We're seeing a nice flow of traffic all around the area. It is Martin Luther King Day, federal and state holiday, so it will probably not be quite as much morning drive traffic today. If you're traveling 2059 from Foster's out to Cottondale, you're in good shape there. And Lurling Wallace coming in across the river on down to Jack Warner Parkway, you're in good shape with no big problems along the way there either. Just a nice quiet start all around. With your Tuscaloosa traffic now, I'm Ray Romero.
Trust your trophy mount to the professionals at Hicks Taxidermy in downtown Northport. For over 40 years, West Alabama hunters and fishermen have taken their deer, fish, ducks, hogs, and turkeys to Hicks Taxidermy. They have an after-hours drop-off freezer, and they can handle mounts for overseas safaris because they are a USDA certified taxidermist. Hicks Taxidermy is the official scorer of the 95.3 The Bear Big Buck Contest. Hicks Taxidermy open Monday through Friday at 703 Main Avenue in downtown Northport.
Getting your guaranteed maximum refund with TaxSlayer feels like saddling up.
I could go on and on about the next person.
Look at that sweet moolah!
That big old cash cow.
Look at all that money!
File for free with TaxSlayer Simply Free and get your guaranteed maximum refund.
I could go on and on about the next person I need to thank.
Franco's cybersecurity firm secured a contract. That's all we're allowed to say.
We have a green light on hiring.
He needs web security professionals with a military background.
3 teams of 4, 24-hour rotations, but Protocol Zulu is on a need-to-know basis.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews right from the Indeed dashboard, so you can stay organized and connected all the way to the hire. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Thanks for calling Discover. This is Anjali.
Hi, it's Jennifer Coolidge. I just got an alert for a strange charge on my card.
No problem. We make sure you're never held responsible for unauthorized purchases on your Discover card. Let's see. Did you purchase something from a t-shirt cannon store yesterday?
Absolutely not. No, I already have like 3.
$0 fraud liability guarantee. It pays to Discover. Learn more at discover.com/credit card. Limitations apply.
At the Home Depot, we have savings on laundry sets that fit your lifestyle. Like Whirlpool Laundry with a 2-in-1 removable agitator that allows you to customize any load. Simply remove the agitator to fit bulky items, or keep it in to help break down dirt and grime. And with flexible capacity, you can finish more loads in less time. Get up to $450 off select laundry sets from top brands like Whirlpool at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Pricing valid January 4th through the 24th. U.S. only. See store or online for details.
The ultimate sports betting app is now available in Alabama. BetU. BetU is the only legal sports betting app in Alabama where friends can bet real money on games directly against each other rather than against a typical sports book or bookie. BetU allows you to bet on spreads and money lines for NFL, college football and basketball, NBA, NHL, and MLB. All you need is a driver's license and bank account. Download BetU for iOS on the App Store today. Learn more about BetU by visiting their website, betu.us. That's bet.u.us.
Interact with the Martin Houston Show by calling us at 205-342-9904 or tuning into the Martin Houston Show on Facebook.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show, powered by MaX Sports. Hey, go check out Alabama One, alabama1.org, your place that you need to check out for all of your financial needs. Got a great contest going on right now, deposit to win. Get all the details at alabama1.org. As you start off the new year, you make a lot of resolutions. If you made one that you want to save more and get in financial shape, well, this is a great way to help you. And while you're opening up that saving account, then you can also be a winner, and we'll be glad to add you to the contest. $250 monthly prize, a variety of different items of $250 value, and a grand prize of $1,000 to be given away at the end of March. So go to Alabama One, alabama1.org, Alabama One together. Man, there's so much, like I said, to get to, and I am going to play some audio here in a moment for Kennington to react to when we talk about style of play. But before that, got a couple callers that we're going to work in as well. And we had a caller on the app, a listener on the app bring up something. And so I want to go ahead and work that in. Marty said, what is your feeling on Courtney Morgan and the new general manager concept? If you go back and listen to the programs that I had last year, I said that one of Nick Saban's KPIs, key performance indexes, is roster management, and that it will be absolutely mission critical. So, and that is what a general manager is for. So I mentioned that concept was coming. Saban already had done it with the guys like Sunseri and Zaboda. Before he just didn't call them general managers. Kennington, I think it's absolutely mission critical. It's just a new part of it, and that person has a very distinct role, I think, moving forward in college football.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you see this position kind of emerging across the sport. Somebody who used to be on Alabama's staff in a analyst type role, Aaron Joe, is now the general manager at Georgia Tech. So it's starting to, kind of emerge everywhere. I think, as Alabama kind of moves into a new era post Saban, you're going to see maybe positions pop up that maybe either Saban handled himself or maybe he allocated to somebody else and maybe it was under a different job title. But this is just kind of the new wave of college football, and having somebody on staff that can, be both a good recruiter and, handle roster management and look out for the portal and kind of handle all of those things to take some things off of the head coach's plate. I think it's a good thing. And these two guys, Courtney Morgan and Caleb DeBoer, obviously have a rapport. They've worked together for a couple of years, and it worked well at Washington, obviously taking that team to the national championship game. So you think about maybe Courtney kind of moving into a role where there's going to be a lot more talent, a lot more resources available at Alabama. You would expect him to continue to do good things with this program.
Yep. Todd, you're in on the Alabama One hotline with Kennington and Xavier. What's on your mind?
Hey, good morning, Martin. Thank you for taking my call. Man, it's been a crazy 3 days. You got a lot to talk about, the GOAT retiring, but I just want to speak on the Isaiah Bond thing real briefly. I know I don't want to beat it up, but man, that was a gut punch to me. And you hit the nail on the head a few minutes ago. We need some people in these young men in their ear to help them make the decisions that they're making. Is it right? Is it wrong? I wish him nothing but success because he's created in God's image and he's my brother. So I can't do nothing but wish the best for that young man. But man, I believe that he made the wrong decision in leaving. And but these guys are young. They make hasty decisions. I know I made a lot of hasty decisions in my young years, and sometimes I still do. but I just want to speak on you to speak on and Kenny to speak on. Man, who's in these young guys' ears other than coaches calling them when they shouldn't? That's what happened, man. He was gone. As soon as Saban said he's retired, other coaches are probably reaching out to these guys, and that's sad, man. Just catching them in a vulnerable moment when all of their emotions, man, how our emotions are. Just think about these players' emotions and where they're at mentally. And I'll hang up and let you guys speak on that, brother.
Absolutely. Hey, Todd and X and Kennington, here's the thing of it. Everybody's talked about how much Nick Saban, everybody has dogged Dabo in his approach to NIL and the transfer portal. What you just saw with Isaiah Bond shows you that Nick Saban's approach to NIL and the portal, it ain't what everybody else's is either. Your thoughts, Kennington and X? You go first, Kennington.
Yeah, to answer the first question about kind of who's in their ear, that's such a loaded question. It just kind of depends on the player. I mean, it could be parents, uncles, trainers, former high school coaches, whatever the case may be. Everybody's support system is a little bit different. So, now agents are also in the mix. So it's really hard to tell kind of who these kids are surrounding themselves with. But that's also a very key part of, their growth and maturation process in this phase and as they go into the NFL as well. But Again, kind of all the weighing on the emotions. That's kind of what recruiting is, though. I mean, even in a regular recruiting cycle, these coaches, a kid's going to commit to a school, and the coach is going to say, I'm not going to give up on you. I'm going to recruit you to the very end, and I'm going to make you say no all the way down to the last second. And that's why Nick Saban is the greatest recruiter ever, because he knows how to flip kids at the very last minute and kind of, hit those right tunes. So that's just kind of the world of recruiting. And this time it kind of, came back to bite Alabama.
X.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at it, it could be anybody. It's the coaches from other schools. It's family. It's friends. It's these agents now. It's a lot that goes into it and why these guys make the decisions that they make. But you got to remember, as far as a lot of these young men came to Alabama strictly to play for Coach Saban and the opportunity to make it to the NFL. We talked about it last week of not every kid that comes to Bama is coming for the script A. That's why I think Coach Saban has changed his recruiting strategy the last couple of years of getting more guys that are in-state kids that want to be here, that want to wear that crimson jersey. I think that's why you haven't seen really much from the 2024 class yet. Yes, Ryan Williams decommitted, but he's the only one that wasn't signed. And I think Alabama still has a really good chance to get him back in the mix, especially if T-Rob is coming back along with this system that Coach DeBoer runs, and with the fact that Isaiah Bond is leaving. Isaiah Bond leaving might play a bigger impact on us getting Ryan Williams than people realize. So it's a lot of things that come down to it.
Yeah, the other receiver from Miami, I think, decommitted yesterday too. So
yeah, he did. But once again, we have a whole year. You have a whole year of building relationships
to get him
before he comes back. Ryan is, man, you got a month.
Yeah. Yep. And I think it's a good thing. Let's get to Philip. Philip, you're in with Kennington on the Alabama One Hotline. What's on your mind, sir?
Good morning. And yes, I was 7 years old when Dr. King was assassinated, and I knew then, as a really young guy, that was a terrible day. And I've got my flag out now in honor of Dr. King. I hope other people will too today.
Thank you for that. I agree.
I'd like to say, I believe the Bond thing rubbed a lot of people wrong, including me, with the visuals, the Lamborghini and all that. I think that pissed a lot of people off. But it's over and done with now. And what I want to say is, signing day is coming up. Really, I think in about 3 weeks, not a month. I think it's less than that now. It's like
it's the 9th. I think it's the 9th.
The 9th. So we got less than a month. I do think now signing day, our focus has changed a little bit. Whereas Alabama's looking at Ryan Williams, and I don't know how many others, but possibly some high school prospects that gave up on their dream of ever signing a scholarship with Alabama a month or so ago, may suddenly have that opportunity coming up on the 9th. And Martin, if you would, and I'm going to hang up, if you would, I am really not all that familiar with what Washington ran this year on defense or offense. I was totally focused on Alabama and the SEC, and I knew they had a good team. But when I hang up, if you would you talk about their defense and their offense? And I appreciate your show. And
before you,
it's going to take a few weeks to get settled out.
Before you go, Philip, I want you to hear this. Yogi Ra, who was on Ryan's show, you need to go back and listen to that interview, and you can get that. You can go to my page and click on it. I listed out Ryan's interviews from that 7 hours of radio. You can just click on my page, Martin J. Houston 35 on Facebook, and listen to that interview. And he talks about DeBoer's ability to move around his personnel. That's been his thing. Coming back on the other side, I'm gonna play you what he said his style of play is. Not what his scheme is, but his style of play. And I think you'll like what he's bringing to Tuscaloosa if he's able to be that magician that makes it fit the personnel, and that's what he said he does best. So we'll bring that. We'll come out of the break with that comment. I mean, with that information, the style of play by Coach DeBoer, and we'll get Kennington's initial immediate reaction to the new hire and whether or not he thinks T-Rob ends up back in Tuscaloosa.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. We're looking at an 8-minute drive both directions on 2059 from the I-359 interchange on to Skyland Boulevard. If you're traveling Lurling Wallace across the Hugh Thomas Bridge to Jack Warner, that's a problem-free drive. You're moving at posted speeds along the way. Same story on University Boulevard. It's a very quiet ride into and out of the area so far on this Martin Luther King Day 2024. With your Tuscaloosa traffic now, I'm Ray Romero.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread.
Good Monday morning. It is a freezing start to MLK Day, and it's only going to get worse with single-digit temperatures by Wednesday. A winter weather advisory is in effect for all of West Alabama, but ABC 3340 meteorologist Evan Chickpower tells us tonight and tomorrow will be the main problem times. A wintry mix of freezing rain and sleet will create icy spots on roads, especially bridges, overpasses, and lightly used roads. Click TuscaloosaThread.com and listen to Operation Stormwatch for later updates. Don Hartley, Townsend Media, Tuscaloosa.
Townsend Nissan Super Sale is underway right now with instant savings from $2,000 to $10,000 on most in-stock units. No reasonable offer refused. Shop Townsend Nissan today.
Football is back, and no one does it better than the Sportsbook at Golden Moon Casino. This season, you can watch the games with nothing on the line. Boring. Or you can make a play in the starting lineup. The Sportsbook at Golden Moon Casino puts you into the big plays with big bets and big wins, making every game more exciting than ever. It's time for the sports glory you deserve without breaking a sweat. The Sportsbook at Golden Moon Casino. Play the game. Must be 21.
I'm attorney Steven Mizrano. Did you know that insurance companies will only offer you pennies on the dollar for your injury? When you're in a wreck, you need an attorney who knows the law and will fight for you. I don't back down from the insurance companies. You need to hire a proven attorney who will win. My firm will fight to make sure you get the compensation you deserve. Call 800-8000 or visit mezwins.com. I've got this.
No representations made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
Keep it locked into Tide 100.9 for more of the Martin Houston Show with Martin Houston and X's and O's Sports Xavier Houston.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier. We're live, local, and ready to get things rolling right here on your home for Alabama sports. Man, it's an interesting time, Kennington, as we seek to make this transition. Let's listen to what Kalen DeBoer had to say about his style of play.
I want to hear what makes this play special. I want to hear about the traditions that I'm unaware of. I want to hear about all the things that really matter to them and ingrain myself into what's been special about Alabama football. But it all starts with the relationships and communication, which builds the trust that we must have to step on the football field with great chemistry, as you've seen years upon years upon years. Okay? It isn't just about talent. Talent gets you a long ways. But the championship teams have something special. They have that it factor. And the relationships that we will build will help us have an accountability for each other. Okay? Accountability to ourselves, accountability from coach to coach, coach to player, player to player, player to coach. We'll also form a brotherhood that is so tight, okay, that anything that comes our way will not break us. And we'll be tough. And we call these our 3 non-negotiables that we will stand by. And the toughness piece is not just physical, okay, which is what Alabama football prides itself on. It will also be mental. Mental toughness, understanding how to handle adversity, because we understand the challenge that it takes to win a national championship. We understand that it's not easy. It never is, but anything worth anything at all is hard. And we're looking forward to that journey and to those challenges. when it comes to a style of football, I don't know what you've seen about how we've played, but obviously playing hard is a big piece of it. But what we try to do, it's always going to be around our personnel. It's always, yes, we're going to recruit the best, the highest character guys, but we're going to be able to have concepts and systems that are able to be adjusted to what we have and what our strengths are. As much as we have great players at every position, there are some positions that are stronger than others from year to year. And we will be explosive. I can promise you that. We will be aggressive. We will attack. And, we understand that the game was meant to be played one way still, and that's to be physical and dominate in the line of scrimmage and control it from both sides of the ball will always be a staple of our program. And
I'll let you respond, Kennington.
Yeah, I think when you think about their offense, it's a lot of pre-snap motions, a lot of creativity. They do as much as they possibly can to confuse the defense pre-snap, and then off of that, they want to push the ball down the field. And I think that's been a consistent theme of all of DeBoer and Grubb's offenses is pushing the ball down the field. And I think when you look at the deep ball passing numbers this year, Penix and Milroe were the top two guys throughout the year in terms of, completion percentage, the number of explosive plays, and all of those things. And Washington had a really strong trio of receivers. They were able to tap into that with Penix and those guys. We'll see what that looks like with, Alabama's roster. Obviously, they can do a lot more with quarterback runs with Milroe in the fold. So it'll be interesting to see the type of offense that they run. As far as dominating on both lines of scrimmage, Washington's offensive line did win the Joe Moore Award this year for best offensive line. So for those people who subscribe to that metric as great offensive line play, that's a good omen for what they're bringing in to kind of build around the young offensive line that they have at Alabama now.
Yeah, and he's one of the coaches that's coming. Their offensive line coaches reportedly heading to Tuscaloosa. And I think there's a misconception because they were such a dominant passing game that they don't have a physical run game. But if you watch them, he wants to be physical in the running game. And this is my statement, and I stand behind it. I don't know if anybody else has made this statement, but 17 years ago, we got Nick Saban. And he was a defensive guru, and that's the way the football game was played. Kalen DeBoer is to offense what Nick Saban was to defense. And I'm glad we got Grubb, but Grubb is running DeBoer's offense.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And the proof is in the pudding. I mean, look at what he's done. Everywhere he's been, he has drastically improved the offenses, and they've turned into prolific attacks. And then you look at what he was able to do with Michael Penix, him and Grubb revitalizing his career. For those who weren't following Michael Penix before he got to Washington, it looked like his career was over at Indiana after several injuries. And he goes to Washington and revitalizes himself with the offense that they were able to build there. And not only with the receivers, to your point, Dylan Johnson, their running back, physical runner, 1,000-yard rusher, average over 5 yards per carry. So, the passing attack gets a lot of attention, but they want to be balanced and they want to be physical and explosive in both aspects.
And X, I look at it and tell people, don't judge by Michigan because he didn't have the dogs that Alabama can get on the D-line. And that's what Michigan took advantage of, in my opinion. But I remind people, he beat the team that beat us before Michigan. And he definitely had less talent than we did.
Yeah, he did, and it's gonna be a fun offense to watch, I believe. And the running, he's very similar, in my opinion, to what people were wanting in Lane Kiffin without a lot of the
immaturity,
Twitter fingers, and things of that nature, as far as how he sculpts his offense. So I believe that there's going to be open competition, as there should be with a new head coach. But whoever the guy is, I still believe Milroe has the upper hand in the competition just because of this past year's experience. But he will be able to sculpt the offense to that quarterback skill set and to the other weapons around him.
Absolutely. I'll give you closing thoughts. It's 2 minutes left. I'll give you the closing thoughts. Kennington, love to hear your thoughts on, does Alabama pull T-Rob back, and how big a get would that be? And then just your thoughts overall on the hire, and we'll keep talking about it as we move throughout.
Yeah, I do think Alabama retains T-Rob. You just think about the opportunity to basically run his own show. There's a great opportunity at Georgia, but that's Kirby Smart's defense. Glenn Schumann's calling the plays. Will Muschamp's influence is still there. I think there's an opportunity for T-Rob to call his own defense, do his own thing, make an own name for himself. So I do think he does get retained. And that's going to be huge in the re-recruitment of a lot of players on the roster, and Ryan Williams as well.
All right. Closing thoughts on just the hire.
Great hire, and for anybody who thinks otherwise, he's undefeated against Dan Lanning. He's undefeated against Steve Sarkisian. He's undefeated against Lincoln Riley, and he's 7-3 straight up as an underdog.
Yeah,
so he knows how to coach and win games clearly.
And I told people, I said, everybody always dogs his Sioux Fall days, and what that means, I said he was coaching with Sioux Fall players against Sioux Fall level of players, and he was dominant. The guys, I think they said he'd lost one home game in his head coaching career, and that was during COVID, and I think the stands were empty. So let that sink in too. He's dominant against top 25. He's dominant at home. He's dominant against the guys who everybody else said out on the West Coast were hot. And hey, by the way, guys, he may not know the South, but he got a few guys that does, and Alabama's already in the South, so we can get those guys. And now we have a guy who can flat out coach, recruit the West Coast as well, and putting the script A behind his name and asking the kid to come play for his offense is a little different than putting the dub behind it. Look for great things for DeBoer. Hey, Kennington, tell them where they can find you real quick, sir.
On X at SkinnyKenny_ and theathletic.com or The Athletics mobile app under Kennington Smith or Alabama football.
All right. Hey, guys, we appreciate you. I'm Martin Houston. That's Kennington Smith III. That's Xavier Houston. We'll be right back here tomorrow. Ask you to stay with us, be a part of the conversation. Follow at Martin J. Houston 35. Follow all the other great apps, and stay tuned for more conversation all day long right here on your home for Alabama Sports Talk, 100.9, 1230 AM WTBC. And remember this, trust in the Lord always, lean not your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. Roll Tide out to everybody, and we'll keep the conversation rolling right here Monday through Friday from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m.
We gonna celebrate and have a good time. Thank you for listening to the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.